Hi, this is Midwife Nell with Midwife Susan Rachel, who's going to be demonstrating use of instruments and suturing in the left hand. Susan Rachel is a midwife from New York, and she is a naturally left-hand dominant midwife. So, Susan Rachel, would you just show us picking up and using the needle holder in your left hand?
Sure. So when I pick up the needle holder, if I'm going to be loading my needle driver with a needle, I hold it like this, and then usually for actually throwing a stitch, I palm it.
So if you would go through that very, very slowly, showing what you do with your thumb and your fingers for each of those and talk through
Sure,
it.
absolutely. So I'm going to reach for the needle driver with my ring finger and my thumb, and I'm going to curl my middle finger over the top of the ring where my ring finger is. And then I'm going to extend my index finger on to the length of the needle driver so that I have leverage and I have control. And then when I go to throw the stitch, I take my finger and my thumb out of the rings and I hold it like this. I palm it again, keeping my index finger extended so that I have control of the needle.
Great. Thank you so much. And is it easier to open it one way or the other so that it doesn't, because it's a right hand dominant designed instrument, so it doesn't hurt your thumb too much?
I find that what I tend to do is put some pressure with my index finger down here where it's holding it steady, and I do use my thumb uh, more than I use my other fingers to manipulate it. I think there's just a little more power in the thenar eminence of the hand, so I have more strength to do that.
Okay, great. And then you are using your tissue forceps in your right hand, of course.
Yes.
And just to reiterate how to use those, would just give us a talk through it. And one of the things that I recommend to new learners is to place the tissue forceps on your work surface with the tips facing you. So if you lay it down, then when you pick it up, your hand will be in the correct position. So just walk us through that from picking it up.
Sure. So I'm picking it up, making sure that my thumb and my fingers are on the textured part of the instrument, which you can see here, and I hold it more or less like a pencil.
Great. Another way of thinking about it is that it's an extension of your pincer grip. And so
Mm,
think about having a kind of a nice round O between your thumb and fingers as you are holding it.
nice.
All right.
Okay.
Next on our list, will you demonstrate loading the needle left-handed from the packet and then protecting the needle, please?
Sure. Okay. So when I load the needle, I'm going to turn the package so that it's facing away from me and I can free the tip of the needle and turn it this way so that when I pick it up, oops, I dropped it. So when I pick it up, it's facing the right direction for me to throw a stitch with my left hand.
So that
Should
means
I
you
show that?
won't have to reposition it. And just for our
Exactly.
viewers, I want people to understand that this is a packet that Susan Rachel has opened and taken the suture out and then put the needle back into the packet. So it wasn't a brand new packet that she was demonstrating. But if you flip that tip of the needle up, you will be able to load the needle in the ready to use position, which will be more efficient for your practice.
Right. Okay. Do you want me to show that again or should we move on?
If you could show us protecting the needle.
Okay, great. So to protect the needle, I'm going to grasp it with the tissue forceps. I'm going to rotate it so that the tip of the needle faces the needle driver. And so that when I hold it up in front of me, I have the letter P for protect. I find sometimes when I'm demonstrating for my students and I'm showing them how to do it as a right hand dominant learner, that I have to really think about which way it's facing. So for me, uh, I think about the letter P, and it helps me orient myself when I'm switching back and forth.
And for preceptors who are left-hand dominant, who might be working with learners who are right-hand dominant, it would be a reverse P. So
Exactly.
yeah. And then,
So I guess we could spin it, and then it would be more. Is
but you
that a
don't want to
letter?
spin it because
No.
that's not useful in terms of your being able to use the needle. So
True.
you want to be able to rotate the needle without taking it out of the needle holder to put it back in the ready to use position. So it might be easier if you turn your hand palm down before you grab, no, your tissue forceps hand.
Oh, this hand.
Yep, before you
Okay.
grasp the needle, hold the needle and turn it. So, and a grasp by the tip, it will make your life much easier. Beautiful. You want to demonstrate just protecting and then unprotecting one more time and just talk us through
Sure.
it.
Okay.
So
So I'm going
grasp
to
the tip
grasp.
of the needle.
Okay. And there we go. So I have my letter P. And then I'm going to go grasp the tip again and rotate it so that it's in the ready position, which would be facing toward my right. So the
Correct.
tip is facing my right if I'm suturing left-handed.
That is wonderful. How about if you now will go ahead and demonstrate suturing with your left hand. And with that first stitch, if you would demonstrate a one-handed tie, that would be perfect.
Sure. Move my scissor. All right. Am I in a spot where you can see?
Yes?
Okay.
Go ahead and talk us through this so we make sure you're on the screen.
Oh, okay, sure. So I'm gently pulling this through so that I complete the stitch, and then I'm going to load the needle, load the needle so it's ready to go for the next stitch,
I'm
making
going to
sure it's
stop you
perfect.
right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hold your needle with your tissue forceps.
Okay.
Let go with your needle holder. Turn your hand palm up.
Which one? This one?
With your needle holder hand, turn it palm up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now load your needle.
Ah, okay.
Now it will be ready to use.
Right. Okay.
So pull that stitch all the way out and start again, just because I want to make sure our viewers got to see everything. So please talk your way through all of this so it
Okay.
goes to your screen.
It's funny, one of the things that you realize when you're doing something that has where you have muscle memory is that it's hard to think about describing what you're doing, and you do it all the time. So thank you for reminding me. All right, so I'm going to enter the wound and exit about the same width. I'm going to grasp the end of the needle like so and hold it secure. I'm going to pull it out and turn my hand palm up, grasp the needle, and then I'm going to keep the needle in my field so that I can see it. I have control over it. Other people don't have to see it, and pull it through. And then I'm going to protect my needle so that I can tie my knot. And for me, I'm going to put my needle driver or keep my needle driver in my dominant hand. And I'm going to place down the tissue forceps and I'm going to tie my knot one-handed tie with this hand, my right hand. Through. Fourth rows, still holding this here. And I will, if I'm going to do a continuous set of stitches, then I will take my scissor and cut the short end.
And so what you demonstrated was tying with your right hand and cutting suture with your right hand so that your left hand is holding the needle holder the whole time. You don't have to put it down. You're not worried about it getting contaminated. It just gets palmed. So
I didn't even think about it.
but that's what you were doing, and I want to make sure I describe it. And so,
Yeah,
just another word for our viewers. Um, if you're not used to saying out loud what you're doing, I strongly encourage everybody, whether you're a new midwife or a student or a preceptor or faculty or very experienced or tiny bit of experience, talk it through out loud. That will do two things. It will help you learn because we learn by doing, but we also learn by saying, by thinking about what we're doing, and by listening. And it will also prepare you to teach. So the expectation is that everybody who sutures will be a preceptor at some point. And so we want to make sure that they are prepared to teach. And just as Susan Rachel was just saying, she's not used to saying it out loud. It's not something you're used to unless you practice it. So this is a skill associated with suturing that you can practice just like any other skill. Okay, Susan Rachel, if you would do a couple of running locking stitches and then a couple or three, I'll leave it up to your judgment, plain running stitches, and then end with an instrument tie, please.
okay, a couple of locking stitches. All right, so for these, I'm going to come about a half a centimeter from either side and keep my stitches about a centimeter apart. I keep them nice and even. So I'm coming through again, grasping the tip of the needle, holding it securely, pulling it through without damaging the tissue. Keeping that needle in my field so that I can see it at all times. Switching my hand position from the tripod hold where I've got my fingers in the rings to the palming. And this time when I throw this stitch, in order to lock it, I do the same thing, but I'm going to make sure that I come up uh, in a circle that's made more or less by the suture material. And that should lock it. Pull it back a little bit. And again, aim to come out in the same area. Make sure that I'm in that ring. So that should be nice and even. And then you ask for a couple that are not locked.
Yes, and then just go ahead and
Okay.
talk to get you back on your screen.
Okay. So for those that are not locked, we're going to move the suture away so that the needle does not come up inside. Oops. Sometimes you drop it. Same distance apart, trying to get them nice and even,
So
but
before you
without
make your
locking.
knot, I'd like to just make a couple of comments.
Hmm.
Uh, One is that we're typically not going to use tissue forceps in someone's vagina. So just
Right.
want people to be aware of that. The other is if you pull the needle all the way out with the tissue forceps so that you've got about 2 or 3 inches of suture, then it's easier to load because you've got more flexibility. We don't want to lean on our clients at all.
Right.
Okay, so these are details. So go ahead and talk now, Susan. Back to you.
Okay, so now I'm going to enter again, come out again the same way, getting ready to tie that instrument tie. So for my instrument tie, I'm actually going to use another instrument. Let's see. So I'm going to, well, I mean, what would you do at this point? We have plenty of suture left. Would you um, try to preserve it
So thanks
and
for
use?
asking that. I always try to preserve it. I would protect my
Hmm.
needle and I would not cut the suture until I have tied my knot.
Okay,
So, and you do need
great.
to leave a nice little loop to,
Yeah, that could make my loop, right?
but I would make that loop as you make your last stitch. No, don't make another stitch.
Oh, make it
Pull
here.
back. No, no, pull that last stitch
Pull
up.
this last stitch out. Okay,
Yes. So when you make that last stitch, just don't pull it all the way through and you will have your loop.
I'm going to protect that. And I'll use this to pull that up a bit. Okay. And you said you would not, because you might need this for something else. Yeah. Okay. So is it okay if I put this down in my field since this is a demonstration? What would we do ordinarily while doing the instrument tie?
I would ordinarily hold it, but you may do whatever you think will be best for the viewers.
Yeah, I think my hands are getting a little close here. I think I'm going to lay it down so they can see a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to make my loop small because it's easier to find. And I'm going to wrap twice, open the needle driver, grasp the end of the loop. And I always tell people if they do cut the suture, because it's just, or if they're at the end of the suture and it's very, very short, to try to grasp the very end of that cut piece, because sometimes I see people trying to grasp it at the base and it's just more unwieldy. So for this, I'm going to pull the loop through and it's my first throw. And then I will wrap once, grasp the end of my little loop, go toward me, and one more time, wrap once, pull it through, and away. Maybe I'll do one more throw just for the heck of it, since I have enough.
So
There's
just want
my
to make a
instrument tie.
comment there. So what I would ask you to do now, just for the viewers, because not everybody's used to doing instrument ties, is
Hmm.
to cut your long end
Hmm.
so that you've got about 2 inches.
Okay.
Put either a needle driver or small clamp on that end so you have a handle on it. And now go ahead and tie another throw. So this is what happens if you have a very short end. So
Hmm.
you have to hold your instrument. So go ahead,
Hmm.
tie one more throw. You need another instrument to tie with. So that one you're holding is just so you know, uh, let's see, what are you going to use?
Yeah, what do you want me to use? Should I use the pickup?
You sure you can demonstrate. So this is called an instrument tie because you can use almost any instrument that will grasp.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to hold the long end, lay the instrument on top of the long end.
This one. Which is the long end now? They're
The
both
long
pretty
end is
even.
always the same long end. The loop is not
Okay,
the
this
long
one.
end.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay. Like this?
Lay it on and wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Grasp the loop. So
Ooh, that's very, very, very small.
I don't think you left a full 2 inches.
I don't think I did either. I think that's like an inch and a half.
So give it
Hmm.
a try. You've got to make a knot because you've got this
Yes, I do.
short end.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's very small. Let me go from the other way. Yeah, I don't think I don't think I have enough. Ah, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'm looking at what I'm doing, not the camera.
I can see we're
Ah,
just fine. There you go. You got
ooh,
it.
I got it.
This is called perseverance.
Yeah.
So if this were a
Oh,
real clinical situation and you were having this struggle with your first throw, you would in fact make your loop smaller.
yes.
And that would give you a little bit more of a long end. And this knot is so important when we have a very, very short end.
Ooh, near you.
All
Go
right.
away.
You don't need to struggle further.
I got two throws.
Good, good job. Well done. Any other particular thoughts about left-handed suturing that you'd like to share?
Um, I think I said everything I was going to say in the first video that we made, so I'm not sure if I have anything else to add. Um, No, I don't think so.
All right, I am going to switch my screens so I can do a quick demo of a needle holder with no rings that can be used either left-handed or right-handed with ease, and then
Yeah,
we'll
that's
wind
exciting.
right up.
Great.
So here we've got my screen, and I will just tip this for a second. So move these out of the way. So here's the needle holder. And unfortunately, I don't remember what the name of it is. Um, but the ratchets are at the base. So you can squeeze to release and you squeeze to tighten. Doesn't matter which hand it's in. Um, and you're going to be focusing on the tip. And so this will make it very easy. Now, if you were very nervous and you squeezed inadvertently, you would open it up. But that's true of any needle holder. So you would still hold it in that same palmed manner, squeeze and release. There you go, to let go of the needle. So I'll do a little demo with the needle just to make it a little bit more realistic. I am not left-hand dominant, so you'll see me struggle a little bit, which I think is always fun to watch. All right, so there's my needle in it. I'm going to tighten it. I can place my stitch. I'm going to release, pull my stitch out, place the needle back in, tighten it. See how easy that is? No rings.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know why we don't all use those. It's fantastic. In either hand.
right, you could use it in either hand, and it doesn't matter what your handedness is.
Right.
Um, so for people who do want to use one like that, excuse me, there we go, get the right camera back. Um, I will try to find the name of it and post it in the comments. Um, But if you are in a community birth setting, you can buy it and it's in your own kit, and so you don't have to think about it. If you're in a hospital setting and you decide to purchase one of these, you want to get the highest quality and they're not cheap, or have your
Mm.
facility purchase it and either market left-handed needle driver or with your name if you purchased it yourself. But it can get lost in central sterile supply. So you want to have a system where you know where it comes back to. So for a lot of people, that will be sending it out from the office setting and then carrying it with you in its sterile pack. to the birth setting. But that'll be something to figure out on your own. Susan, Rachel, are you able to turn your camera around so we can see your lovely face before we say
Uh,
goodbye? I always like to say
I'm
in face if at all possible.
gonna try to figure out how to do that
All
and
right.
see.
Yeah.
No, there we go. I have to just lift myself up here.
There you go.
Here I
All
am.
right. So thank you very much. I appreciate your help. I hope everybody enjoys these videos. This is Nell Tharp signing off. And thank you again, Susan Rachel.
My pleasure. Thank you now.
All right.